Hey everyone, today we're going to be working on a lab. This is called the Busting Bubbles Lab. The assignment and a copy of this lab can be found in the Science Canvas page, but I'm just going to go over the lab, just do a brief overview of the lab, kind of explain how it works, and hopefully alleviate some questions that may arise or some challenges that may arise. And so the purpose of this lab is to familiarize yourself with the scientific method. This is what we use in science to solve problems. We'll be using the scientific method throughout the year. It's how we go about finding solutions to problems in science. And we're also going to be identifying a few different pieces of lab equipment, some common lab equipment that we use throughout the year. And so what we need for this experiment today, we need a balance, we need bubble gum, we need whey paper, and of course your iPad. And so the balance that we're using today is a triple beam balance. It looks just like this. This is the ones we have in our classroom. So this is the triple beam balance that we'll use. You guys practiced with this triple beam balance in the online lab last week. And then the other thing we're using today is bubble gum, and so double bubble. This type of bubble gum here, we're using double bubble, the original flavor of double bubble today. And so what we're doing here, we're going to develop a hypothesis that determines what effect chewing of the gum will have on the mass of the gum. So we're going to make a hypothesis to decide, is the mass going to change, the mass of the gum going to change as we chew it? We're going to make predictions as to why our hypothesis will happen, and we're going to record it down, and then we're going to follow the procedure. But due to COVID-19, normally students would be doing this entire thing. They would be chewing the gum and recording the mass of the gum. But due to COVID-19, we've had to change a few things this year. And so instead of you chewing it, I have done this experiment, and I'm going to give you the data for it, and I'm going to explain how it works, and then you're going to do the rest of the lab as we do this, okay? So the steps that we go through when we do this lab, first we'd have to unwrap the piece of bubble gum. You don't want to chew with the wrapper on. And we place the piece of gum on a piece of whey paper, and then place it on the triple beam balance, on the silver pan. We call it the pan right here, the silver part of the triple beam balance. We put a piece of whey paper there, and we place the gum on there. We don't want to put the gum directly onto that balance or anything we weigh, especially things like that could slide off of this metal tray here. It could slide off, or stuff we're putting in our mouth for sure. We don't want to just mix a whole bunch of everything what's ever on this tray. So we put a piece of whey paper down. It's just a piece of whey paper is just a little piece of paper, and that's all it is. So we put a piece of whey paper there, and we put the piece of gum before we start chewing it, and we put it onto that balance, and we measure the mass. We get the mass of that gum in grams. And then what we do is we take that piece of gum and we chew it for 30 seconds. And after 30 seconds, we take it back out of our mouths and we put it back onto that balance, and we get the mass again. And we record that mass. And then what we do is we take it and we put it back in our mouth and we chew it for another 30 seconds. Then we take it back out and we get the mass again. And we keep doing that over and over until we get to 5 minutes of total time that we've chewed that gum. So we just repeat these steps over and over until we get to the 5 minutes. Okay, and at the end, we're going to make a bar graph of our results, and we're going to evaluate your hypothesis and to see if it's correct or not. So the first thing we need to do here, we have an observation. We have bubblegum. We know bubblegum changes appearance when it is chewed. And our question here that we're going to answer today, does the weight of the bubblegum change as it is chewed over a period of time? So maybe you've never thought of this. Does the weight of bubblegum, does the mass of bubblegum change as it's chewed? So as you chew a piece of gum, does the mass change? And so in your hypothesis, you're going to write your hypothesis right now. You're going to say, if we chew the gum, then the mass will, and you're going to put one of three things here. The mass can either increase, it can decrease, or it can stay the same. So the mass can increase, decrease, or stay the same. So you're going to write that into the hypothesis statement now. If we chew the gum, then the mass will increase, decrease, or stay the same. You get to choose which one you want there. I'm going to let you write that in here. If you need to pause the video, go ahead and pause the video before you go on. Okay, so once we have our hypothesis written in, we then need to make our predictions. Okay, so if we scroll down on your paper there, the predictions. The predictions are the predictions are going to be based off of your hypothesis, and so the predictions are going to be why your hypothesis is the way it is. So if you chose increase, you're going to write a prediction of the mass will increase because. Why do you think the mass will increase? Or if it's going to decrease, you're going to write the mass will decrease because. Why do you think it will decrease? Or if it stays the same, the mass will stay the same because, and you'll write a reason. Why do you think that? And there could be lots of different things here. You can have all kinds of different things here. So it can be whatever you want. So this is up to you. There's no right or wrong answer, but you have to have reasoning. Why do you think it will? Why do you think that's what's going to happen? Okay, and then we're going to run our test. And so once we have our prediction, we'll run our test. So I'm going to give you a second here to write the prediction. If you need to pause the video, go ahead and pause it to write your prediction, and then come back and push play. All right, so our test. So we're going to run our test now. And so I ran this test with a piece of bubble gum. So what you're going to do in the charts here below, we have two different trials. We're going to run this experiment 2 times. So I've ran this experiment 2 times. You're going to record the results in this chart here. And normally, like I said, this would be what you would record, but due to COVID, we're going to have to change things up a little bit. We're just erring on the side of safety here. So you're going to record the mass. And so what I did is I took the gum, I unwrapped it from the wrapper, and I took the mass. I weighed the gum, and so the very start, before I even started chewing it, I found out that the piece of bubble gum weighed 6.7 grams. Okay, and then what I did is I chewed it for 30 seconds, put it in my mouth, I measured the time, I chewed it for 30 seconds, and then I took it back out, and I put it onto the balance again, onto the pan there, and I measured it again, and I found out that then it weighed 4.2 grams. And then I took it and I put it back in my mouth and I chewed it for 30 seconds, and then I found out, I took it back out, put it on the balance, and it weighed 3.8 grams. So you can kind of see that a trend is starting to develop here. Now, I continued to do that every 30 seconds. I would weigh the gum. I take the mass of that gum, and what I am finding here, these are the masses in grams that I am getting, and so what you need to do is then write these into your chart as well. So you would write these into your chart as well. There we go. So at a certain point, the mass kind of starts to level off there a little bit. So the mass kind of levels off a little bit. So then we did the same thing, the second trial. So what I did is I got a new piece of gum, and I did the exact same thing again. So I would take the mass before I even started again, and we found out it weighed 6.7 grams. And then I chewed it for 30 seconds, then I took the mass again, and I found out it weighed 4.6 grams. And I continued that on every 30 seconds. I would chew it for 30 seconds and then find the mass. And what I am finding is a similar type pattern. This signifies a little bit that we have good results here, some reliable results. We're following this kind of a similar type pattern as we did before. And so you can kind of see it starts to level off again. All right, so now you're going to do a couple things with this data. You're going to complete a bar graph. You're going to have a title with the labels for the X and Y axis. I have actually already labeled the X and Y axes for you, but you're going to have to write a title into that graph. Okay, so part of it is, you're going to get a grade on this, and part of this video helps you do that. And so just to kind of help, so I know you watched the video, that's why I didn't put the title in. You have to put the title in, so make sure and put a title in. So if you scroll down, you're going to see some graph paper here. So you're going to put a title right up here at the top. You can name it whatever you want to. Okay, and then you're going to make a bar graph on that data. So you have the mass of the gum, that's going to be on the left side here, and then on the bottom we have the time in minutes. So we'd start out at 0, and then we could have the next skip a line, and we have 30 seconds, and we skip a line, we could have 1 minute, and then you skip a line, we have 1 minute 30 seconds, and we just continue that to 5 minutes. You can put both the graphs, so trial 1 and trial 2, right next to each other, or if you want to have 2 separate graphs, so we have divide this in half. So the first from the start over here maybe to the middle, that's trial 1, and then from here over to here, that's going to be trial 2. It's your choice here. If you have both of them, on here. You will have both trials on here though. We need to have a key. Okay, so we need to have a key. So you could have them different, the bar graphs, they could be different colors. On your iPad, you can make them different colors. And then put a key in here. So what color? So green bars are trial 1, purple bars are trial 2, or whatever you want to do. You can have a key. You gotta have what color is going to be trial 1, what color is going to be trial 2. Okay. I then want you to answer these questions. So is your hypothesis correct? Don't go back and change your hypothesis. It's okay. It's all right. That's part of science. If we're not right, that's okay. We can learn from not being right. That's perfectly fine. But what was your hypothesis correct? And then tell me why. Why was it not, or what was wrong with your hypothesis? Okay? And then identify what was the dependent variable in this experiment, what was the independent variable in this experiment, and what were some of the constants in this experiment. Remember, there should only be one independent variable and really one dependent variable. And then constants, there might be several of those. And then finally, if you scroll down past your graph, please answer this last question. Explain, why did the mass of the gum change? Why did the mass of that gum change? You may have to do a little research. You may have to do a little research on this, but why did it change? Why do you think the mass of that gum changed? Okay, so it went down, the mass decreased, but why did it? Okay, so like always, if you have any questions here, please let me know. Don't hesitate to contact me. But this is just an intro into the scientific method and how we go about solving problems in science. So good luck. If you need help, just let me know. All right.